Considering that the important goal of a game is to give you a fun time, Gods vs. Humans completely fails in this aspect. Even worse, I can already tell you that it will do everything for you to absolutely hate the game and uninstall it. Gods vs. Humans is essentially a strategy game with an interesting spin that really sounds original and worth trying out. Fighting little humans as a god to prevent them from reaching your door located up in the sky, which they try to get to by building a tower which you as a god need to destroy. Their tower consists of multiple floors that each have 4 columns that need to be destroyed in order to collapse onto the lower floors, damaging them in the process. So you can in turn damage those faster, so that finally the tower will crumble to dust. This can be achieved by using offensive and defensive powers that are given to you as a god depending from within which civilization you are in the game. The humans will be one of the 4 following depending on which progression you are in the game. Egyptians, Greeks and Roman, Norse, Japanese, and a 5th culture I think, which are the Incas. But as you can already see, I didn't even make it this far in the game. You'll be given offensive powers such as a lightning bolt, windstorm, snowstorms, fireballs, and even an all-out attack that supposedly should damage the whole tower, even though it rarely does. All of these will damage the floor's columns and help you destroy the whole tower. These powers consume energy that you receive from a worship meter. The thing is, and this is where the major problem in the game arrives, is that humans obviously work against you by repairing the columns at a speed rate that is entirely decided by this worship meter. This meter will empty or fill itself depending on how much the humans worship you as a god. You directly or indirectly affect this worship meter, as if you directly strike any of the humans or the workers that are on the current floor that you're looking at, they will become unhappy and decrease your worship, which basically means you'll receive less quickly energy for new power-ups, which you need to destroy the tower. Defensive powers are then introduced in the game, such as using a sexy woman that walks onto the floor to distract or even put the workers asleep, which supposedly increases worship. Well, right now all of this sounds balanced and pretty interesting. But there's nothing that Gods vs. Humans achieves to do properly, which in turn devalues completely all of the effort you spend into destroying the tower. First of all, the humans are faster than you. They work faster, they run faster, they repair floors in a matter of seconds. And the worship meter is an absolute nightmare to raise. striking a single human often downgrades the worship meter significantly, while putting a sexy woman on the floor with at least, like 15 workers barely raises that worship meter by any inch. And in fact, I can blame the worship meter for the entirety of the frustration in the game, as it goes fucking slow. It has 3 stages: very unhappy, neutral, and happy. When the bar is at unhappy, you will get around an energy block once every 5 seconds. If they're neutral, you'll receive about 1 to 2 randomly every 3 seconds. And if they're happy, you'll receive 2 every 3 seconds. The problem though is that it's just so slow and it rarely hits over the neutral meter. They're never happy, almost never happy. And that in turn slows the pace of the game down to the point where you're just sitting there waiting to get the best power-ups every time to catch up slightly with the work of the humans. That, however, is also a problem, because they will build the tower high enough to the point where they reach your door so that the battering ram, which is a human with horns, with a helmet with horns on, can run up to your door, break it down and declare your game over. The worst of all units in regards to this worship meter are the evil priests. These cannot be killed or barely be controlled, as they stand around praying evil energy to the workers that decrease the worship meter below anything acceptable. It wouldn't have been so much of a problem if they didn't spawn at least 3 of such evil priests on 3 floors, which in turn completely devalues or stomps down any effort you spend into increasing the worship. If it gets too difficult for you to increase the worship, they will spawn good priests, which absolutely do nothing. They are supposed to increase the worship by praying good energy. But the problem is that you cannot control where they spawn. You cannot move them anywhere. And effectively the game really spawns them on the worst floors. Sometimes they spawn on floors where there are no workers, where the evil priests are getting all of the workers. The first levels aren't really difficult, but around level 15 it becomes so difficult that you will really quit the game way sooner than you would like to. The most negative and embarrassingly repetitive gameplay, however, is what makes Gods vs Humans a complete disaster. Even after level 5, you'll instantly realize that the next 55 levels will be exactly what you have done so far, doing the same stuff over and over and over again. It is as if every single level is the exact same as the previous one, where you just have different energy requirements for power-ups depending from god to god. It's lazy. There is no change whatsoever. They didn't even take the effort to offer at least 2 or 3 different soundtracks, or hell, even just the different soundtracks per culture. Was that really so expensive that it was impossible? You literally hear the same looped soundtrack during the 5 hours that you spend in the whole game. Change in the game is essentially between the cultures, but that is limited to simply having a different skin, but no different powers up whatsoever. It also offers challenges, such as not using certain offensive powers or no defensive powers at all. Or you need to destroy a certain floor under a certain amount of minutes, or simply destroy the whole tower under 2 or 3 minutes. Their twist is irrelevant though into making the game more enjoyable. Instead, they're actually harder than it already is and are often the triggers to make you stop the game. On top of that, certain defensive powers simply do not work correctly. There are units amongst the humans which have different abilities. For instance, the construction supervisor makes sure that the workers do not just stand around doing nothing. And your job is to make sure that they do not need the workers to finish a floor. You can chase those with a scarecrow while they're on the floor. However, when they're walking and you place a scarecrow, they cannot get scared at all. They can only get scared and chased away when they're standing on the floor, which makes no sense. How can a construction supervisor not get scared by walking past a scarecrow, but it can while just standing around? It is not consistent. It's the same with evil priests. They should also be able to be chased away with the scarecrow, but placing them on the moment that they're going to another floor does absolutely nothing. You can only chase them if they are on a floor which is not where that temple is, by the way, which is something I didn't mention before, but they come out of temples and you cannot place anything on those floors. But you can only chase them away by placing it exactly when they're starting to preaching evil energy. What completes the ignorance of the whole game are the protectors. Protectors will protect a floor against a specific selection of your power-ups. Some will absorb lightning bolts, others will absorb any of the storms, and some will also absorb fireballs. They have the sole aim of getting in your way, destroying a floor, which is what is literally being said in the units page. The problem is that they completely spawn randomly. So sometimes you will strike a split second before they get spawned, before their animation is even there, but they will block your attack, which is in turn a complete waste of your effort. And any forethought with this idea is just impossible. Sometimes you will even have 3 protectors spawn on the floor, which means you can't do anything. In worst case scenarios, you will have 3 evil priests, a full f***ing tower, and protectors on any floor. It's so frustrating and works against anything you do that you just want to pick your computer and throw it out of the f***ing window. The only redeeming factors in the game are the performance and the animations. Other than all of this, I didn't mention that the humans can sometimes reinforce a floor, which makes it even harder to demolish the tower. And at last there are also these boss-like battles where there is a champion that is a big human on a wooden horse that you need to strike at least 1,000,000 times before he dies, and yay, that was the end of the game. None of this is a positive plus to the abomination of the whole game. Maybe the concept is just inefficient. I think that designing a game that is destined to work against you can work, but then at least make sure that any of our input has a certain value, and even maybe add some checkpoints during the levels like the state of a floor that can't be undone anymore by the humans. Oh, I don't know what else they need to do to make this game more enjoyable, but there is certainly a lot of work left. Adding more to the review at this point is unnecessary, so let me get straight to the final score. God vs. Humans earns a 4 out of 10. It's below average and not recommended. It would do well as a time filler if you have like 5 spare minutes. But if you really can't find a better game at $7, don't stick with God vs. Humans. My name is Joris and I'll see you in the next review. This can be achieved by using the offensive and defensive powers. Damn it. Okay. No. Okay, again, last time. Defensive powers, which in turn, striking a single human will often downgrade the meter significantly. Whatsoever. No, that's too much. It's too much. Anything like no. What did I do? Don't do that. Other than all of this, I didn't mention the fact that some of the floors can become